The most courageous act you will ever commit is to become who you truly are. In a world that constantly tells you who to be, what to want, how to live, and what success should look like, there comes a moment when your soul whispers a different calling, a calling to return to yourself. This is not an easy road, for it demands that you step into the unknown, face your fears, and confront the parts of yourself that you have hidden, denied, or forgotten. But it is the only road that leads to wholeness. Carl Jung's ideas about self-discovery, the shadow, and individuation remind us that becoming who we truly are is not about creating a perfect version of ourselves. It is about discovering the person who has been waiting beneath the expectations, fears, failures, and opinions of others. Somewhere inside you is a deeper self that knows what you need to become. But you may never hear that voice if your entire life is spent listening to everyone else. You may spend years trying to become successful in someone else's definition, trying to make everyone proud, trying to avoid disappointment, trying to fit into places where your spirit no longer belongs. And eventually, you may look at your life and wonder why you still feel empty. The reason may be simple. You have been living according to an image instead of living according to your truth. Your life changes when you stop asking, "What will make everyone else accept me?" and begin asking, "What is my life asking me to become?" That question can change everything. It forces you to look inward. It asks you to examine your fears instead of running from them, your weaknesses instead of hiding them, your mistakes instead of being ashamed of them, and your dreams instead of dismissing them as impossible. The parts of yourself you are most afraid to face may contain lessons you desperately need. Your shadow is not simply something evil or negative. It can contain forgotten strength, creativity, courage, passion, and truth. Sometimes the person you are trying hardest not to become is connected to something you need to understand. Sometimes your anger reveals a boundary you never learned to protect. Sometimes your jealousy reveals a dream you were too afraid to pursue. Sometimes your loneliness reveals that you have been surrounded by people while disconnected from yourself. Pay attention to these signals. Your emotions are not always your enemies. They can be messengers. They can show you where something inside you needs attention. Do not be afraid of looking within. You cannot heal what you refuse to see, and you cannot transform what you refuse to acknowledge. The journey toward becoming yourself begins with honesty. Stop pretending that you are okay when you are not. Stop pretending that you want a life simply because other people expect it from you. Stop measuring your worth against someone else's achievements. You are not behind. You are not too late. Your journey is your own. A tree does not compare itself to another tree. It grows according to its nature, its environment, its seasons, and its roots. You must learn to do the same. There will be seasons when nothing seems to happen. There will be moments when your progress feels invisible. There will be days when you question whether you are moving forward at all. Do not mistake silence for failure. Some of the most important growth happens where nobody can see it. A seed grows underground before anyone sees the tree. Your character develops during the moments when nobody applauds you. Your strength is built when you keep going, even though nobody knows how difficult it has been. Your future is being created by the choices you make when there is no audience. So keep going. Even if the progress is small, keep going. Even if you are afraid, keep going. Even if you have failed before, begin again. You do not need to have your entire life figured out today. You only need the courage to take the next honest step. Maybe that step is learning something new. Maybe it is leaving behind an unhealthy habit. Maybe it is setting a boundary. Maybe it is forgiving yourself. Maybe it is finally beginning the dream you have postponed for years. Whatever it is, take the step. Your life will not change simply because you think about changing it. It changes when your thoughts become decisions and your decisions become actions. You must participate in your own transformation. No one can do it for you. Other people can encourage you, guide you, love you, and support you. But ultimately, you must walk your own path. There will be people who do not understand your transformation. There will be people who prefer the old version of you because that version was easier for them to understand. When you begin changing, some relationships may change too. Do not automatically assume that you are wrong simply because someone is uncomfortable with your growth. You are allowed to outgrow old expectations. You are allowed to become different. You are allowed. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise of the outside world becomes so loud that you can no longer hear your own voice. You wake up, go to work, complete your responsibilities, talk to people, scroll through endless images of other people's lives, and continue moving from one day to another. Yet somewhere deep inside you, there is a quiet feeling that something is missing. You may not be able to explain it. Nothing may appear completely wrong, yet something inside you knows that you were made for more than simply repeating the same patterns every day. This feeling should not be ignored. It may be the beginning of awakening. Carl Jung's ideas about the unconscious mind remind us that there is much more happening within us than what we consciously understand. Beneath your everyday personality exists a deeper world of emotions, memories, fears, desires, dreams, and possibilities. You may spend years building an identity that makes sense to other people while slowly becoming disconnected from the person you truly are. You learn how to behave so that people will accept you. You learn what to say so that nobody becomes uncomfortable. You learn what dreams are considered realistic and which dreams should be abandoned. Eventually, you can become so good at being the person everyone expects that you forget what your own voice sounds like. But your true self does not disappear. It waits. It speaks through your emotions, your dreams, your curiosity, your frustrations, and sometimes even through the emptiness you feel when you are living a life that does not belong to you. Maybe that is why you sometimes feel restless even when everything seems fine. Maybe that is why success does not always make you happy. Maybe that is why you can accomplish something you once desperately wanted and still feel a strange emptiness afterward. The problem may not be that you need more. The problem may be that you need something more meaningful. You need alignment between who you are inside and how you live outside. Your journey is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. That means accepting the parts of yourself that you have spent years rejecting. You have a strong side, but you also have a vulnerable side. You have courage, but you also have fear. You have confidence, but you also experience doubt. You have dreams, but you also carry wounds from the past. None of these contradictions make you broken. They make you human. The goal is not to destroy the parts of yourself you dislike. The goal is to understand them. When you understand yourself, you gain the ability to choose instead of simply reacting. You stop being controlled by every emotion, every opinion, every criticism, and every disappointment. You begin to observe yourself. You begin to ask, why did this affect me so deeply? Why am I afraid of this? Why do I keep repeating this pattern? What am I trying to prove? These questions may be uncomfortable, but uncomfortable questions often lead to powerful transformations. The life you want may require you to become honest about the life you currently have. If you constantly blame other people, you give away your power. If you constantly blame your circumstances, you convince yourself that you have no choices. But when you accept responsibility for your decisions, you take your power back. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that happened to you. It means deciding what you will do with what happened. You cannot control everything that happens in life. You cannot control who leaves, who stays, who understands you, who rejects you, or what unexpected challenges appear on your path. But you can control how you respond. You can decide whether pain will make you bitter or wiser. You can decide whether failure will make you quit or teach you. You can decide whether rejection will destroy your confidence or redirect you towards something better. Your circumstances may shape your life, but they do not have to define your identity. Never allow one bad chapter to convince you that the entire story is hopeless. You may be struggling today, but today is not forever. You may have failed yesterday, but yesterday is not your identity. You may have lost something important, but loss does not mean that your life has lost its meaning. Sometimes life removes things because you are being forced to discover what remains when the familiar disappears. That is why solitude can be so powerful. When everything becomes quiet, you are finally forced to meet yourself. At first, you may not like what you discover. You may notice how much you depend on approval. You may notice how afraid you are of being alone. You may notice how often you distract yourself from your own thoughts, but do not run away. Stay with yourself. Listen. Learn. The person you are becoming requires your attention. You cannot build a meaningful life while constantly escaping from your inner world. Give yourself moments with all. There is a version of you that exists beyond fear, beyond comparison, beyond the opinions of other people, and beyond every mistake you have ever made. That version of you is not someone you need to invent. It is someone you need to discover. For many years, you may have believed that becoming successful means becoming more impressive, more powerful, richer, smarter, or more admired. But eventually, you begin to understand that success without inner peace can feel strangely empty. You can have people around you and still feel alone. You can achieve goals and still wonder what they were really worth. You can receive praise from the world and still hear a quiet voice inside asking, "Is this really who I am?" That question is important. Do not silence it. Sometimes the deepest dissatisfaction in life is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that something within you is asking to be changed. Your soul may be asking you to stop living automatically and start living consciously. Carl Jung's philosophy of individuation speaks to this journey of becoming a whole person rather than simply becoming the person society expects you to be. It is the journey of meeting yourself honestly. And meeting yourself honestly requires courage because you will discover things you may not want to see. You will discover fears you have been hiding behind distractions. You will discover insecurities you have covered with confidence. You will discover anger that came from wounds you never addressed. You will discover dreams you abandoned because someone told you they were unrealistic. You will discover how often you have said yes when your heart wanted to say no. You will discover how much of your life has been shaped by the desire to be accepted. But do not be ashamed of these discoveries. Awareness is not failure. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. You cannot change what you refuse to recognize. The moment you become conscious of a pattern, you create the possibility of choosing differently. Maybe you have always procrastinated because you are afraid of failing. Maybe you constantly seek approval because you are afraid of rejection. Maybe you avoid relationships because you are afraid of being hurt. Maybe you stay in situations that make you unhappy because the unknown feels more frightening than the familiar. Once you understand the reason behind the pattern, you can begin to break it. You can begin to say, "This is how I have lived, but it does not have to be how I continue living." That sentence contains enormous power. Your past is a chapter, not a prison. You are allowed to change the direction of your story. You are allowed to make a different choice today. You are allowed to become someone new. But becoming someone new does not mean rejecting your past self. The person you were did the best they could with the knowledge, awareness, and strength they had at that time. Instead of hating that person, understand them. Ask what they were trying to protect. Ask what they were afraid of. Ask what they needed but never received. Then give yourself what you needed. Give yourself patience. Give yourself discipline. Give yourself forgiveness. Give yourself another chance. You do not have to carry shame forever simply because you made mistakes. Mistakes are part of becoming conscious. Sometimes the person you are today can only exist because of the lessons you learned through the person you used to be. Even your darkest seasons can contain wisdom. You may not see it while you are suffering, but later you may realize that certain struggles changed the direction of your life. The door that closed forced you to find another path. The rejection forced you to develop yourself. The failure forced you to learn. The loneliness forced you to meet yourself. The disappointment forced you to stop expecting other people to save you. Pain is not automatically meaningful, but you can choose to make meaning from what you experience. That choice belongs to you. Do not wait for life to become easy before you become strong. Strength is developed precisely because life is difficult. Every challenge gives you an opportunity to practice courage. Every setback gives you an opportunity to practice resilience. Every uncertain moment gives you an opportunity to practice trust. You may not control the storm, but you can learn how to stand in it. And remember, being strong does not mean pretending you never hurt. Strength is not the absence of emotion. Strength is being willing to feel your emotions without allowing them to control your entire life. Cry when you need to cry. Rest when you need to rest. Admit when you are struggling. Ask for help when you need it. Then rise again. There is no shame in being human. You do not have to be strong every second. You only have to refuse to give up on yourself. The world will constantly tempt you to compare your journey with someone else's. You will see someone younger achieving what you wanted. You will see There is a point in your journey when you must stop waiting for someone to come and rescue you from the life you are living and realize that the person you have been waiting for may be yourself. No one else can walk your path for you. Other people can encourage you, love you, teach you, and stand beside you, but there is a decision that only you can make. The decision to take responsibility for the person you are becoming. This does not mean that everything that happened to you was your fault. Life can be unfair. People can hurt you. Opportunities can disappear, plans can fail. Sometimes you can do everything you can and still experience disappointment. But even when you cannot choose what happened, you can choose what happens next. That is where your power begins. Carl Jung's ideas about the journey into the unconscious remind us that real transformation begins when we stop living only on the surface of ourselves. You must be willing to go deeper. Beneath your daily habits are beliefs. Beneath your beliefs are experiences. Beneath your experiences are emotions. And beneath those emotions may be fears that have quietly influenced your decisions for years. You may think you are lazy when you are actually afraid of failing. You may think you are unmotivated when you have lost connection with the meaning. You may think you do not care when you have become exhausted from constantly trying to please everyone. You may think you need a completely new life when what you really need is a new relationship with yourself. This is why self-awareness is so powerful. When you understand what is happening inside you, you stop fighting invisible battles. You begin to see the patterns that have been controlling you. Maybe every time you get close to success, you find a reason to quit. Maybe every time someone gets close to you, you push them away. Maybe every time you experience failure, you immediately tell yourself that you are not good enough. These patterns can feel like personality, but they are not necessarily your destiny. They are patterns, and patterns can change. You can learn a new way of responding. You can choose a different thought. You can take a different action. You can create a different future. But first, you must become conscious of what you are doing. Do not be afraid of discovering uncomfortable truths about yourself. The truth may hurt for a moment, but living a lie can hurt for years. If you discover that a habit is destroying your future, have the courage to change it. If you discover that certain people constantly pull you backward, have the courage to create distance. If you discover that you are wasting your time, stop making excuses and begin using it differently. If you discover that you have been living only for approval, begin learning how to approve of yourself. Your life becomes more peaceful when you no longer need every person to understand your choices. Not everyone will understand your dreams. Not everyone will recognize your potential. Not everyone will support your transformation. That is okay. Your purpose is not to convince everyone. Your purpose is to live honestly. Imagine how much energy you would have if you stopped trying to prove yourself to people who were never going to be satisfied. Imagine how much time you would gain if you stopped comparing your life to people you do not even know. Imagine what you could create if you stopped asking whether other people would think it was impressive and simply asked whether it was meaningful to you. Your life is too valuable to spend constantly performing for an audience. You were not born to spend every day trying to look successful. You were born to live, learn, experience, create, love, grow, and discover what you are capable of becoming. And yes, sometimes that means choosing a path that looks strange to other people. It may mean starting over. It may mean leaving something familiar. It may mean learning a skill from the beginning. It may mean working quietly for years before anyone notices. Do not be embarrassed by being a beginner. Every expert was once someone who knew nothing. Every successful creator once made something nobody watched. Every strong person once had a day when they felt weak. Every confident person once had to take their first uncomfortable step. Your beginning does not need to be impressive. It needs to be real. Start where you are. Use what you have. Learn what you do not know. Improve one piece at a time. The world often celebrates the final result, but rarely sees the thousands of ordinary moments that created it. Nobody sees the early mornings when you wanted to stay in bed. Nobody sees the nights when you doubted yourself. Nobody sees the failed attempts, the deleted work, the mistakes, the rejection, or the silent tears. But those moments matter. They are shaping you. The difficult days are teaching you whether your commitment depends on comfort. Anyone can continue when everything is easy. The real test comes One of the greatest battles you will ever fight is the battle between the person you have been and the person you know you can become. The old version of you wants what is familiar. It wants comfort, certainty, approval, and the safety of staying inside the boundaries you already know. The future version of you is asking for something different. It is asking for courage. It is asking you to take risks, to learn, to change, to let go, and to walk into places where you cannot yet see the outcome. This is why transformation can feel uncomfortable. You are not simply changing your habits, you are changing your identity. You are challenging beliefs that may have been with you for years. You are questioning stories you have told yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. And when you begin questioning those stories, your mind may try to pull you back toward what feels safe. It may whisper, "You are not ready." It may remind you of every failure. It may show you every reason why you should wait. But remember this, fear is not always a warning that you should stop. Sometimes fear is simply evidence that you are standing at the edge of growth. You cannot discover a new version of yourself while constantly protecting yourself from every uncomfortable experience. Growth requires exposure to uncertainty. It requires doing things before you feel completely prepared. It requires accepting that you may make mistakes along the way. The goal is not to eliminate fear. The goal is to stop allowing fear to make every decision for you. You can feel afraid and still move forward. You can doubt yourself and still begin. You can feel uncertain and still take action. Courage does not mean that fear disappears. Courage means that your purpose becomes more important than your fear. Think about how many opportunities you may have already missed because you were waiting to feel confident. You waited until you knew enough. You waited until you had enough money. You waited until people approved. You waited until the timing was perfect. You waited until you felt ready. But life rarely gives you perfect conditions. There will always be something missing. There will always be another reason to postpone. If you make readiness a requirement for action, you may spend your entire life waiting. Begin before you are ready. Learn while you move. Improve while you continue. Let experience teach you what preparation cannot. You do not become confident by thinking about confidence. You become confident by repeatedly doing difficult things and discovering that you can survive them. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-trust grows. Every time you face something you once avoided, your courage grows. Every time you recover from failure, your resilience grows. Every time you choose discipline over temporary comfort, your character grows. This is how a powerful identity is built. It is built through evidence. You show yourself who you are by what you repeatedly do. So if you want to become a disciplined person, practice discipline today. If you want to become courageous, do something today that requires courage. If you want to become successful, develop the habits of someone who is willing to work consistently. Do not wait for a new identity to magically appear. Create it through your choices. Your future self is not somewhere far away. Your future self is being created by what you are doing right now. Every decision is a vote. Every habit is a vote. Every hour is a vote. You are constantly voting for the person you will eventually become. Ask yourself what your daily choices are voting for. Are they voting for health or weakness, learning or ignorance, creation or distraction, courage or avoidance, purpose or temporary pleasure? You may not control the final result, but you have tremendous influence over the direction, and direction matters. You do not need to transform everything in one day. You need to move in the right direction consistently. A small step in the right direction, repeated every day, can take you farther than one massive burst of motivation, followed by months of inactivity. This is why patience matters. You must learn to respect slow progress. The modern world teaches you to expect instant results, but human development does not work that way. Your mind, your character, your skills, your relationships, and your confidence all require time. Give yourself time. Do not destroy your motivation by demanding that your life change overnight. Instead, ask yourself whether you are becoming better than you were yesterday. If the answer is yes, continue. Even if the improvement is tiny, continue. You are building something. And sometimes the most important progress is invisible. You may be learning how to control your emotions. You may be learning how to say no. You may be learning how to walk away from distractions. You may be learning how to sit with discomfort instead of escaping into your phone. You may be learning